Over to you, Laila.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you to this webinar, which is delivered to you jointly by 360 Wellbeing and Online Menopause Centre. In order to improve women's health and access to support, we must normalize the conversation to empower people with knowledge and choice, including knowing when and how to seek help and support. My name is Laila Kaikavoosi. I'm the founder and clinical director at the Online Menopause Centre. OMC launched just under 3 years ago. We are the first registered clinic in the UK to deliver menopause care on an purely online platform, and that was in order to make it more accessible, convenient, and affordable for women to reach this care. We've also put together a very comprehensive training program to help businesses build awareness and provide support for their staff in order to retain the talent and to recruit. All our trainings are delivered by experienced medical practitioners, and I'm delighted to share with you that we have been awarded Outstanding by our regulated Care Quality Commission. We've treated over 1,500 patients over the last 2.5, 3 years. I'm also delighted to be joined by the CEO and founder of 360 Wellbeing, Kevin Hollick, who will speak with you about this app, the benefits it can bring to employees, including the new feature, Menopause Health, by this 360 Wellbeing. So today I'll go through some definitions of menopause and perimenopause. I'll talk to you about some common signs and symptoms of this transitional time in life, the impact it can have at work, and how you can support your colleagues going through this phase in life. And Kevin will discuss accessing menopause health support via 360 Wellbeing. And there'll be plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So let's get going. What is menopause? Menopause essentially is a natural aging process that women usually go through between the ages of 45 to 58. The average age of menopause in the UK is 51. And the word menopause essentially means cessation of the menstrual cycle. It is diagnosed once the cycles have stopped for 12 consecutive months. So it's almost like a retrospective diagnosis, and you can make that at home yourself. You don't need any fancy tests or investigations in order to diagnose this. I guess the most confusing or challenging time is the time around it, the perimenopause. I've dedicated the next slide to go into this in a little bit more detail, just to clarify. It's also important to mention that menopause can be experienced by those who no longer identify as women. Anyone who's been through female puberty can experience these symptoms. So going back to perimenopause, or the time around the menopause, this can be a few months or up to a decade prior to that. So if we take the average age of woman being 51, a woman in her late 30s, early 40s onwards can experience perimenopausal symptoms, which are actually quite similar to menopause symptoms, which I'll be going into in the next few slides. The difference is that sometimes the person experiencing them can get a break from it because her ovaries are still functioning, and at times she can experience these quite significantly. And often the link between these symptoms and the existence of hormonal imbalances is missed, because this is a time that we often have increasing professional, family, social responsibilities. And also it may be difficult for a GP who hasn't had specific training in menopause, perimenopause, to recognize that these numerous symptoms are as a result of hormonal deficiencies in a woman who is still experiencing regular or irregular cycles. This slide looks at the data presented by the British Menopause Society, which highlights the fact that menopause, in fact, is everyone's business and not just the business of the person going through it. This is because the period of perimenopause can last up to a decade. Some women can be very symptomatic, and various parts of her life, from her personal life to her social life, work life, can be affected, as well as, of course, struggling with the symptoms. About 45% of people who were interviewed for this data collection said that menopause had negatively impacted their work. but 47% wouldn't tell their employer. The reason for this was around stigmatization and fear of demotion and losing job. Now on to some symptoms. The thing to remember is that the receptors for hormones lie on almost every organ in our body, and a lot of different organs and symptoms can arise from the time of perimenopause and menopause. These lists that I've put together, physical and psychological, is the next slide. They're not exhaustive. There are many more symptoms like this. Some people get just one or two, but often women experience groups of these symptoms, and they can range from being quite mild, manageable, to quite severe and affecting quality of life. The top two, the hot flushes and night sweats, are the symptoms that often we've heard about. And these are not just feeling a little bit hot and sweaty, but it's a very uncomfortable sensation of heat rising from middle of chest, rising upwards, making the woman feel quite disoriented. Some people feel a bit faint and they need to lie down. Some women experience palpitations or rapid heartbeat. And of course, night sweats can wake someone up multiple times in the night, which can affect their work and their function the following day. Insomnia, which can be difficulty falling asleep or waking up multiple times in the early hours of the morning. And this is one of the signs and symptoms that start actually quite early on in perimenopause due to a drop in one of the female hormones, progesterone. Joint stiffness, muscle aches, headaches, which could be new onset headaches or sort of worsening of pre-existing migraine headaches, gritty eyes or dry eyes, tinnitus or ringing in the ear, thinning hair, which seems to be a universal problem, and hair falling out, itchy skin, and a very uncomfortable sensation of insects crawling under the skin. Weight gain, again, a universal problem for women going through this phase, even in those who are quite athletic. This is all to do with how our body perceives the drop in hormones, which is basically a very stressful physiological process for the body, and you get a rise in cortisol level, which is the stress hormone that sort of stops the metabolism, slows it down, and it's especially of carbohydrates and sugars. Women often experience a number of gastrointestinal symptoms like nausea, bloating, constipation, indigestion, and many more than what I've listed here. And psychological symptoms that, if not more frequent or not as significant, they're more significant and more commonly actually experienced by women. These are rise in anxiety or feeling down and depressed, even in women who've never experienced these emotions before, or sometimes in women who have a clinical diagnosis and are under treatment. They feel that their emotions are no longer under control, and this is due to the direct effect of hormones on the neurotransmitters in our brain that are in charge of our mood, irritability, and losing temper much quicker than before, brain fog, which has been named on numerous surveys and data collection as the symptom that really affects a woman, especially in the context of her work. And I guess it's not difficult to understand why, having to leave reminders, having to forgetting names, difficulty learning new skills, reading and rereading emails in order to remind oneself. For lack of concentration, focus, and short-term memory is actually quite common during this time. And all of this, of course, results in a drop in confidence, in self-esteem, and a general reduction in zest for life, a lack of motivation, even for social gatherings. It's just, it's not a great time emotionally. This is a short animated clip that takes us through life of a person struggling with these symptoms, both at work and at home. We can watch it together.
Mary is 55 and is menopausal. Her symptoms have had a big impact on her life. Here's how a typical day for her plans out at the moment. She often struggles to sleep at night, often waking due to night sweats. On her daily commute, alongside fatigue, she's become more prone to headaches, which can last her entire journey. It's not a great start to her day. At work, she finds the office very stuffy and frequently has hot flushes. She feels very self-conscious about this. Since she turned 50, she also finds the need to use the bathroom more frequently and urgently. Today is during her lunch break, and she worries about what her colleagues are thinking. Outside of work, her mood can change erratically, and she finds herself more irritable. Her husband finds this very stressful and confusing. She also noticed her hair is starting to thin. She loves her thick hair and feels less attractive because of this. She goes to bed feeling very low and is hoping she finally gets a good night's sleep.
So you may think, why should employers be responding now? Why are we even gathering today to talk about this? Employers are considering menopause health at work mainly for 4 specific reasons, which come under the headings of demographic, business or financial, the social responsibility, and legal. And I'll take you through each one in a little bit. So the demographic case is that we are an aging population, and menopausal women in the age bracket of 50 to 64 are the fastest growing working demographic in the UK. There are about 3.5, 4 million women in employment in this age bracket. So I guess we need to look after this group to attract and to retain the talent and experience that is needed to run our organization, and as well as supporting women who wish to remain at work or to return to work after taking time off work, maybe to raise families or look after themselves or family members. The business case, often menopausal women are at a senior level in management or leadership roles, and it's difficult to fill these roles. And also very expensive to do so if the woman chooses to leave or can't cope with her menopause at that time. And of course, we know that recruitment costs quite a lot, especially bringing it's the direct recruitment cost and also bringing her up to speed. The Office of National Statistics did a survey in 2018. They found out that 14 million working days in 1 year are lost due to menopause symptoms. And they only looked at what they called vasomotor symptoms, which is the hot flushes and night sweats. In fact, many of the sorts of symptoms related to cognition, the brain fog, the lack of focus, they weren't looked at. So I think this perhaps is an underestimate of what's going on. The legal case is that menopause is actually not a protected characteristic yet, but the Equality Act 2010, which prohibits a discrimination on the grounds of age, sex, and disability, has been used with successful outcomes for the claimants. And equally, both the Equality Act 2010 and the health and safety legislations can be used in the context of menopause when there is a legal case. And the all-important social responsibility, it is just the right thing to do. And employers still seem a little bit hesitant to recognize that menopausal women may need some special consideration. And for long, menopause has been perceived as being quite private matter, and women are reluctant to open up about it. So we must try to break the taboo and to reach some of the other physiological changes that some women go through. For example, maternity and pregnancy. These seem to be very positive and ordinary workplace conversations, and we should really strive to reach the same, because that way women can feel sort of supported. The culture of that workplace is that she can open up and ask for help and reasonable adjustments instead of taking time off work or leaving her post. And the all-important supporting our colleagues at work. How do we do that? Support comes from knowledge and understanding. So raising awareness amongst all employees, amongst line managers, the senior staff is really the starting point. Once everybody understands about this transitional time, understand what the woman can, the extent of what she can experience and how that can affect her work quality and just enjoyment in her workplace, that's when people start listening and taking the first steps in order to change for the better. And of course, providing easy lines of communication and normalizing discussion around menopause and perimenopause. Having a menopause policy is not the law yet, but it's best practice. About a third of organizations in the UK have either thought about it or implemented a menopause policy, whether you call it a policy or a guidance or even a fact sheet, whether it's a standalone policy or part of your well-being policy, is really depends on the workplace itself and what's suitable and achievable. Having menopause mentors in the business, these are people very similar to mental health first aiders that have a deeper understanding of menopause and they can signpost their colleagues to the right and correct information. And of course, having pathways for easy access to menopause care and treatment, because we know currently under NHS is very patchy, that care, and if a woman needs quite specific or specialist menopause care, the wait time can be very long, up to a year or even longer. These are some useful websites that I thought you may want to know about. Online Menopause Centre, our clinic has a resource tab, and in that we have a number of different case studies as well as menopause cafes that has been carried out throughout the last 2.5 years on different aspects of menopausal health, for example, menopause and mental health, or weight gain, or urinary symptoms, etc. The British Menopause Society and Women's Health Concern also have very up-to-date and a vast amount of information. You really have to, if you haven't visited these websites, you have to put aside a little bit of time to just get your head around it. But once you're familiarized with these websites, they're very useful. Daisy Network is a very good website for people who have experienced early or premature menopause. These are women under the age of 40 or premature, under the age of 30 even. And some useful apps for if you want to access some mindfulness and management of stress. And I'm going to ask Kevin now to talk to us about 360 Wellbeing.
Thank you, Laila, and welcome everyone. I'm Kevin Hollick. I'm the CEO of 360 Wellbeing, and we have a product called Personal Support Program, or PSP, and we're partners with OMC, and within the application there is support for women and menopause. So next slide, please, Laila. So within the application, there is a discovery call. So people that are struggling, that need some help or support to understand what's going on for them, if they're not getting the support they need with their doctor, or they're not sure if they're on the right care pathway, then there's a free 15-minute discovery call with one of the OMC team. Within the application, there is also GP appointments you can have via video or phone, and you'll be able to discuss the symptoms there and problems as well. Also within the application is mental health therapy and counselling, and that's uncapped. So you're able to access this if you are struggling and you need extra support. You can use the application there, and the counselling and therapy can be conducted either telephonically or video like this, or in a face-to-face in a clinic, depending on what environment you need to be supported in. So There's also downloads within the application on Menopause Health, the symptoms and HRT, and how to support colleagues and partners. It's all contained within the application. Next slide. So it's really important around mental health in that it's there when you need it. And it's also the 360 personal support program is there for all of the family that reside at the same address. So it could be your partner that's going through the menopause and they need support, and but there's also mental health support there for both of you if you need it. It's uncapped, as said before, it's not for anyone feeling suicidal or ongoing long-term complex issues such as someone who is bipolar, for instance. But there's support there within the application when you need it. Next slide.
So yeah, this is what Kevin was speaking about, the free 15-minute discovery call with our OMC practice manager, in order to, if you just wanted to find out if you're suitable even for HRT or not, or you wanted to know what the available options are, you can speak with her. And in summary, menopause in the workplace is becoming increasingly important. And we, from our experience and the work we've been doing over the last couple of years, we see that business leaders, organizations are actually beginning to act. Women should be supported to remain at work for as long as they wish, really. And this is, of course, beneficial for the organization. It's also beneficial for the health and well-being of the woman and for her family and society as a whole. We are in a unique position to provide both support for organizations to raise awareness, to train them, to educate them, and also to deliver the treatment to the woman. This is Kevin's details here for anybody who wants to get in touch. And I think we can go on to Q&A. If you want me to go through any of the slides, I can go back, or we can start with questions.
Thank you, Laila. Thank you, Kevin. It's Simon here from Online Menopause Centre. We've just got a first question come through the chat. It's one for you, Kevin. Can we log into 360 Wellbeing through the web as opposed to through the application? Kevin, are you there? Just checking you're not on mute.
Apologies, I went on mute. It's only available via the application at the moment. So you have to download the app onto your phone or your tablet, and that's how you get access to the 360 Wellbeing program.
Okay, thanks. Laila, we had a few questions that were posed before the webinar today. So I'll just ask you a couple. Most of them are for you, but you've been doing, it was World Menopause Day last week. You were very, very busy doing training. What typically are you seeing? I think, there's been a shift, I think, in the last kind of 12 months, but what are businesses doing now to help support their kind of women in the workplace when it comes to menopause health?
Yeah, I think one of the, there a lot of businesses actually have webinars for both managers and colleagues just to raise awareness. And the other thing that they're sort of is quite popular is the mentorship training, because, especially for workplaces that have a policy, it's great to have a policy or that guidance or whatever you want to call it that is suitable for that particular organization. But the mentors really help to bring it to life and implement whatever that you've stated in that policy. So, and often, they send some, either their HR managers or line managers, or in fact, the mental health first aiders, which is actually quite relevant, because through that interaction with someone who's having a mental health problem, then they may come across menopausal, perimenopausal women as well.
That's great, Laila, thanks. And typically if you're a small business, you don't have a huge HR department and you just want to kind of start the ball rolling, what's the best starting point for a company?
The best starting point actually is perhaps doing a survey to find out what it is that your staff need. We've done that with a couple of companies, and that was quite helpful for them to get a better understanding of where they are with their workforce, with their staff, and what are they requiring, and then of course you have to see what is reasonable for that organization as well. So if they're smaller or medium size, you have to see what, can you have a couple of mentors, for example, and then can you have a couple of these webinars in order to raise and maintain their awareness about it, so that you've made a real change about changing the culture within that. Having a one-off webinar is good, but I don't think is enough in order to really make a huge change. So that's, from my experience, that's been the case.
Thanks, Laila. Just had a question in. Who is the best person to contact at OMC if an HR department at a company is interested in finding out more? That would be Kevin. So Kevin's details you saw on the previous slide. So we'll send the deck round and we'll send the recording round to everybody as well. I'll also pop his email address into the chat here. So Kevin works across both 360 and is obviously a partner business for OMC as well. So he's probably your best point of contact.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the answer. Thank you.
Laila, could you maybe just touch a little bit on the menopause policy? Because that's something that we see quite a lot of companies starting to work on and develop for their own businesses. What typically should be going into a menopause policy?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's good to understand what your staff need and what you're able to provide before you start formulating that policy. And, for some bigger organization, for example, it would look quite different. But as a starting point, it should have some explanation about this transitional time in life, so that anyone that refers to it, those that are going through it and those who are not, so any staff that is coming in or the existing staff can just read up on it and find out what is this, how can it affect me. So a little bit of detail about menopause, perimenopause, some of these common symptoms. And of course, if you have the details of the mentors, you should put it there. And what is the available resources that you have? What are the reasonable sort of adjustments that you can offer to your, and it's a really good point of reference for people. First of all, you're basically signaling that we are a menopause friendly workplace, that we do have a policy on it, and these are the things that we can offer you, so that and then you can have like useful websites and information for them to refer to.
And how important, Laila, with the work that you've been doing over the last kind of year or so, is educating men on this topic? We've got a lot of women today that have dialed into the webinar, but I think we've seen quite good attendance from men over the last sort of 12 months or so.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's hugely important. As I, in my third or fourth slide said, it was the data collected by the British Menopause Society. Menopause is really everyone's business, and we're a very similar place to where we were with mental health about 10, 15 years ago. And I think, to keep it, we've done that it's not a new condition or event, or for as long as women have been around, menopause has been around too. But of course, 100 years ago, it was like an end of life event, because the life expectancy was so much lower. But nowadays, women are living into their 80s, 90s, or even early hundreds. And so you can be menopausal for 30, 40 years. And also a lot more women are choosing to be in employment and to work, and they should be supported to do so. So it's really, you have to, it's very personalized for individual people, I think, for individual women, how to support them. And you have to just figure out what it is that they're asking for and what they want, and then see what is available within your company.
Thank you. And perhaps just touch a little bit on the pathway. So once we've gone from, if somebody wants to get in touch with OMC and go through a discovery call and wants to then progress and actually maybe have specialized treatment through OMC, what does that patient pathway look like in the first 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, OMC, as the name says, Online Menopause Centre, all the interactions that you have are via video consultations. And but you can speak, of course. We have a very good admin team that is very proactive and very helpful. But you have an initial 30-minute consultation with a help, either a doctor or nurse. It's your choice who you want to see. Our team is on our website, and you can choose to make your appointment with whoever you wish. And usually once you've been seen and assessed, if you get started on HRT or hormone replacement therapy, which is the main treatment for menopause, then you get seen about 2 months after that, because that's usually a good amount of time to see what symptoms have improved and what haven't, so that the treatment can be tweaked. And then after that is usually 4 months. Once you've been established on a particular HRT and treatment plan, then it's usually twice a year that we like to touch base to make sure that you are still on the right formulation of HRT, and that you're up to date with all your screenings, that we're not missing out on any side effects that we should be acting on. If you require blood tests, we have a mobile phlebotomy service, so the phlebotomist, the person who takes the blood, can visit you at home or workplace. So it's quite convenient, and you're not missing out on, having to take time off work or from home to attend that. And usually within 4 or 5 working days, your results are ready for the doctor or the specialist nurse to look at it and to tweak the treatment.
And how does the conversation work with the patient's GP, Laila? Typically, what's the communication lines like?
Yeah, so we provide everyone with a consultation summary with exact treatment plan, the exact sort of HRT that has been prescribed, or any other things that may or may not have been prescribed. And we send that at the end of every consultation. The woman gets a copy of that, and we encourage them to share that with their GP, because I think it's really good practice, and it's to the best interest of the person to for their GP to be aware of what other medications they're on and who else is seeing them. And sometimes they can get some of these medications via their GP, so they come back just for like checkup a couple of times, once, twice a year. Sometimes, the HRT, unfortunately, like anything else that is related to women's health, goes in and out of stock on regular basis. And so if they have any difficulties getting a dispense from their local pharmacy, we can arrange for that via the pharmacies that we have partnered with. And again, they deliver it to their home address. So if everything on Online Menopause Centre platform is there in order to make it really convenient and accessible for the woman, so that you don't actually have to leave home or work, etc., to get that help. So the medication HRT is delivered to you, and the phlebotomist can visit you in wherever you wish.
No, that's great, Laila. Thanks. Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add regarding menopause in the workplace and 360 Wellbeing?
No, it's it's a great partnership, and it's there. It's about normalising that conversation within the workplace, and we're all doing our bit within the 360 team to do that by including it within our portfolio of services. So, yeah.
Right, I think that's all the questions that we've had. So thank you everybody for attending today. Thank you, Laila and Kevin, for presenting. We will send this presentation around. We'll upload it to the OMC website under the resources section. under the Menopause Cafes as well. We'll put the webinar, the recording out. So if you do want to share it with your colleagues and teams who weren't able to attend today or just want to refer back, Kevin is your best point of contact regarding kind of training. If you want to have a conversation about how your business kind of gets started, or when it comes to menopause health support for companies, we can certainly get in touch with Kevin and have a chat. Likewise, Mary is our practice manager with the patient side of things. So if you'd like to find out more about OMC, just want to have a 15-minute chat to find out how the patient journey works, what it means to be a patient at OMC, then info@onlinemenopausecentre.com, and that's Mary Mohan. So and any of the team are available, so you have the websites, both 360 and with OMC, so do get in touch with any of the team, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.